Chicken on a stick.
Hi, I'm Patrick,
I'm Maggie.
and we are Chicken on a Stick. Welcome to another episode.
Welcome.
Today we're going to be talking about my pick for this week, which is a movie that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
2015's Anomalisa, a stop-motion movie that can be taken many different ways.
I had not heard of this movie until I met you, and you mentioned it.
Yeah, I made your life better.
Which I have said before plenty of times, I'm not a big stop motion and or puppet person. So I wasn't going into it too excited, but yes, you opened my eyes.
Yeah. We'll get more to the eye-opening bits of this movie in just a little bit.
Yep.
Try to.
Try to what?
Try to explain.
I think I might have psychological problems.
Oh, good. That clears things up. Thanks.
Oh, it's hard to explain. I've been running for a long time now.
Running? We were special together. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I agree. But things kind of shifted.
But just like completely suddenly. I was so pissed at you. I was so fucking hurt. I didn't get out of bed for a year. Do you realize that?
Jesus. I'm sorry.
God. You drank that fast?
I get a lot of practice. Listen, do you feel that you changed? I mean, do you feel that you changed?
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Like in any way, did you change? Like while we were together, like did I change you? Did you change? Did anything change? Did a change occur?
Michael, you're freaking me out. I can't take being more freaked out right now.
I'm sorry, I'm a mess. I'm just... Do you want to maybe go up to my room for another drink? We could talk more privately.
What? We're not going to fuck, Michael.
I just...
Okay, so Anomalisa, just to kind of jump into a little bit of information about the movie before we get started, is a 2015 adult stop-motion animation psychological comedy drama.
It's a lot.
At least that's, what it says. I would have probably trimmed that down a little bit. But anyway, the film's written and directed by Charlie Kaufman. Charlie Kaufman, pretty well known in the movie sphere for a couple things. Most importantly, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, being John Malkovich, adaptation, Schenectady, New York. And then one a couple years ago that we watched that came out on Netflix, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which was also a very twisty movie.
So good.
He co-directs this with Duke Johnson, and it is based on Kaufman's 2005 autoplay of the same name under his alias of Francis Fragoli, which kind of dives into a little bit of something we'll talk about later on.
Yeah.
Basically, the movie is about a middle-aged British customer service expert named Michael Stone, who perceives everybody as identical except for a woman named Lisa that he meets.
Right.
And then it kind of goes from there.
Yep.
So, the movie, I don't know, I'm not 100% certain, but in 2015, I know almost certainly is in the time period of when I had MoviePass.
Oh, really?
And I was going almost daily to see
something.
Quite literally whatever was playing.
Yeah. Not very different from now.
Since I could go to basically every movie theater, I would just look up what was playing and be like, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
So I don't think I knew anything about this going into it. And then went and saw it, and I do like stop motion animation quite a bit. I do like puppet stuff, and I loved this movie.
I don't even remember ever seeing a trailer. Was it like it was very indie at the time, or no?
I mean, sure. This definitely wasn't like a huge release.
Yeah. Yeah. No, never seen it, and I'm trying to think of what puppet movies I even liked before. I didn't care for Everybody Loves what's that one movie with the puppets? They're like the America League.
Team America?
Team America.
America League?
I don't know.
Team America World Police?
I didn't care for that.
Well, that was made by the people who do South Park, so
That's probably why.
somehow I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Anyway.
The movie stars really only 3 people. And that is, our main character, Michael, is played by David Thewlis. I don't think that's an accurate way to pronounce his last name. But he's done tons of movies. You'd know his voice, everything. Maggie, anytime she hears him in anything, likes to be like, that's the shame monster from Big Mouth on Netflix.
Mouth. Yeah, the animated show from John Mulaney. He plays a monster on there, and his voice is just... It's so distinctive.
Yes, it is.
He was also in the TV show Fargo.
He has been in loads of things.
Yeah. Was he in Harry Potter?
Yes.
I haven't seen.
So it also stars Tom Noonan. Tom Noonan voices every other character in this except for Michael and Lisa.
Right.
And then Lisa is voiced by Jennifer Jason Leigh. So all pretty well-known people. Tom Noonan's probably the least recognizable name to more general people, but both the other people you've definitely seen in high-profile movies.
Oh, yeah.
Or in TV shows or something.
For sure.
Now, this movie... I guess we can just kind of get into it and we'll talk about it along the way, because there's quite a few... This movie isn't exactly straightforward. It can be straightforward, and it really depends on how you take it. And Charlie Kaufman has said in interviews that he doesn't like to talk about his movies once he's made them. He kind of wants to leave the meanings and stuff more or less ambiguous, or not tell you what his thoughts or meanings were behind it, because he wants...
Your interpretation.
You to have an interpretation. Right. So you can kind of take it however you want. So while there's some things in this that by the end do feel pretty straightforward, there's sort of a layer to it where if you don't know about this delusion that we will talk about, you might not pick up on it. Once you do know the delusion, you can kind of watch the movie a little bit differently, but you can take it basically however you want to take it.
Right.
And trust me, there's a lot of people who think many different things about this movie. You could go on for days watching YouTube people break down what the meaning to the movie was and
just
stuff.
Go down an absolute rabbit hole.
So to get into the movie opens up with a black screen, and we just start to hear some voices.
Yes.
And you want to pick up on this maybe immediately, but all the voices we're hearing are the same person. This is Tom Noonan, again, voicing every character in this who's not Michael or Lisa. It's just kind of gibberish. There's a lot of different things being said, and it's just one voice and then more voices, and they all kind of get muddled over top of each other into this just sound. Just a sound of talking, like something you might hear if you're at like an airport or
subway or
I don't know, a concert or something. If you're in a large area of people and they're all sort of talking, there's like that the sound of just many people talking, but you can't really decipher things.
I found it very unnerving to listen to, especially once you do realize that they're all the same voice. talking over each other. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah. We hear a little kid point out that there's a plane, and we see in these clouds this plane just sort of flying through this cloudy air where the sun's like hardly getting through, and it's just kind of flying there. And as we're just sitting there again, just kind of listening to this hum of people talking, if there was a loud spike there,
Sorry.
Maggie punched the microphone.
I just accidentally hit the microphone.
We get the captain kind of comes over the loudspeaker, says something, and as he does, the plane we see flies into a cloud and then vanishes.
Yeah.
And then the camera pulls out, and we're inside the cabin of an airplane, and Michael's got a window seat, and he's just kind of staring out the window, and he takes some pills. We look down, he takes some pills. We don't really know what they are. Doesn't really say. He just takes some pills.
Probably Xanax or something.
Could be. And then he pulls out this letter. He's got this letter that's folded up, and he starts to read this letter. And we get a voiceover to this letter, but we also see this woman's face reading this letter back to him. And it's essentially just a letter of her she wrote to Michael saying, basically, like, what happened?
Yeah.
I thought things were going good, and then you vanished, and now, like, you don't want to talk to me. Like, did I do something? What's wrong? We only get a little snippet of this letter here, but it's going to pop up about 2 more times throughout the movie.
Right.
And it kind of helps you a little bit understand what is going to happen almost immediately after we get to the end of that letter.
Right.
The plane lands in Cincinnati, and immediately Michael is sitting there, and the passenger next to him leans right into his face, says, "Hey, I'm sorry that I grabbed your hand while we were landing. I'm a nervous flyer." And Michael's he's got like the exact look that I would have, which is like an irritated expression, but he just says, "It's fine." And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm just nervous." And he's like, it's okay, it's fine. And then there's a break, and then he goes, "You can let go of my hand now." And then it reveals that the guy's still holding his hand for a little bit of a joke.
I have made a note. I have 1,000,000%. I wrote accidentally. I think it was just like a knee-jerk reaction. On taking off and landing, I've absolutely put my hand out to a stranger's hand. 1,000,000%. Always women. Not that that matters. But I'm very curious what you would do if a stranger was next to you.
I would pull my hand away. As soon as they try to grab it, I would take my hand away.
No, I would hold their hand for sure.
I would not.
You don't want to be comforted if you think you're going down? I take that
Well,
back. I
would think that the plane is landing normally. I don't assume that we're crashing.
I forgot that you welcome the sweet, sweet release of death. So.
Yeah. That's right.
You'd really pull away.
Yes, that's weird. Like, if it was a child or something, that'd be different. But a grown adult, no, don't touch me.
I'd be holding strangers' hands.
It's bad enough that we're packed into an airplane,
like
super tight, uncomfortable levels. It's almost claustrophobic. I don't want a random person touching me.
That's fair.
Anyway, he gets off the plane. He's walking through this airport. Michael puts on some headphones to listen to like an opera song. The music is normal. It's the music you would recognize. But again, the singer is the same voice we keep hearing. So the song, he's listening to music to sort of drown out the noise of just random people in this airport. At this point, you've also noticed that every other character, child, adult, man, woman, doesn't matter, they all have the same exact face as well.
Very creepy.
And so he puts in headphones, kind of drowned everything out. That's kind of what I like to do, is like, I put on headphones and then just leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
And he gets outside, he gets into a taxi. The taxi driver seems like, he like taps on the window or like waves at him. The guy barely cracks the window. And he's like, he doesn't say anything. He's like, "Hey, can you take me to the Frigoli Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So, weirdly, the taxi driver seems like indifferent and uncaring at first.
Right.
And then as soon as the car starts, the taxi driver does not shut up.
No. He is.
Also a nightmare. Don't talk to me. Just take
Oh.
me where we're going.
You would be so miserable. I feel like you've had that happen to you before, where someone was just like trying to be chatty Cathy, and you're like, oh my god, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, to be fair, I'm not trying to be an asshole. Just traveling for me sucks to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't need the added annoyance of people
Social
making
anxiety.
small talk, which I absolutely despise.
I do hate small talk. But it is so funny how and the taxi driver, pulls an answer out of one of the 18 million questions he's asked in the span of a second. And as soon as he hears that he's got a British accent, he's just even more amped.
Yeah.
Now he's like just a rocket of questions. And I have always said, well, I always, but I say this every single time we watch something where someone has an accent, right? I always say, accents do not equal personality. And the taxi driver here is just relishing in him being British. Not to toot my own horn, toot toot is someone who traveled and met a lot of people with different accents. It doesn't equal a personality. And I think it's annoying when people get obsessed over accents. Stop it.
All right, hot take, I guess.
Except for Ghost. Ghost is... Our friend Ghost has an accent.
Shout out to Ghost Hacks Gaming. Shout out to the Scottish one.
Yes, the Scottish one. His accent's...
So, the taxi driver is kind of being like, oh, so you're what are you here for? Business? Oh, you're visiting? Have you been to Cincinnati before? Oh man, Cincinnati's great. You got to go see a lot of things, like the Cincinnati Zoo. This is probably the best bit and also hilarious. He says the zoo's great. He kind of tells him some things about the zoo, like they're doing stuff for like endangered species and breeding programs and stuff. Mm-hmm. But then he's like, how long or you got to try the Cincinnati chili. It's not like other chili.
Yeah.
And he's like, how long are you here for? And Michael's like, a day. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, if you had to do one thing, you should go see the zoo because like that doesn't take a day. It's only zoo size.
Yeah, it's only zoo size.
And then you can get the chili because you don't need a long time to eat chili.
Yeah.
Again, just I would act the same way Michael does, which is he very clearly seems annoyed by it and agitated. I would be the same way.
Oh, there 1,000,000% has been a time or two where someone approached us and tried to make small talk with you, and I interjected to be like, oh yeah, so anyway, so that you didn't have to say anything.
Yeah, she's the talker.
I'm the chatty one.
Yeah.
I make friends everywhere.
So, Michael gets dropped off at this hotel. Or actually, more importantly, he does ask... Does he ask the taxi driver about it? He asks the taxi driver if there's a toy store nearby. Yeah. And the taxi driver, he says that he's got to get a gift for his son. Michael's got to get a gift for his son. And the taxi driver very clearly takes it as a different type of toy. He thinks he means, oh yeah, buddy, an adult toy, yeah.
Oh,
and he goes, there is a toy store a few blocks down. You can walk to it. It's open 24/7.
Yeah.
Michael just, in his half listening, caring to what this guy says, picks up, okay, there's a toy store, it's within walking distance, whatever. No question about the way he said it, the fact that it's open 24/7.
Yeah.
Nothing about that.
A couple red flags there.
Michael gets to the hotel. Very importantly to this story and to kind of understanding a little bit about potentially a way you can take this movie has to do with the name of the hotel. The hotel's name is the Frigoli.
Right.
That could be... I could be mispronouncing it. I'm not 100% sure how it's pronounced. But the most important part is Frigoli is a reference to a thing known as the Frigoli delusion. This is a rare disorder in which a person holds a delusional belief that different people are in fact the same person who changes appearances or is in a disguise. The syndrome might relate to a brain lesion and is often a paranoia of nature, or is of paranoia in nature. With the delusion, a person believing themselves persecuted by the people they believe are in a disguise. A person with the Frigoli delusion can also inaccurately recall places, objects, and events. This disorder can be explained by associative nodes. The associative nodes serve as a biological link of information about other people with a particular familiar face to the patient.
Right.
This means that for any face that is similar or recognizable face to the patient, that the patient will recall that face as a person they know, even though it might not actually be.
Right.
The Frigoli delusion is classed both as a monothematic delusion, since it only encompasses one delusional topic, as a delusional misidentification syndrome, a class of delusional beliefs that involve misidentifying people, places, or objects.
Fascinating.
So, basically, one thing you can kind of pick up on this, and Kaufman has come out and said that no, Michael in the movie does not necessarily have Frigoli delusion, but very clearly it, in some way, informs the story being told.
Right.
Because, again, everyone in this movie we've met so far, and everybody we will meet, other than Lisa, will have the exact same face,
same voice,
and the exact same voice.
Yeah.
So, Michael's wife, son, the taxi driver, the people on the plane, the random passerbyers, the hotel clerk, or whatever you call the people at the desk. Concierge. Yeah, there you go. The bellboy. Everybody is the exact same face, same voice.
It's trippy.
So that's something you can keep in mind. We did see Michael take pills at the beginning of this, so you can already kind of realize that maybe he's not mentally all there. Maybe he does have this delusion, maybe not. So once he gets to the hotel, he does ask for if they have a quiet room. And there's this weirdly unnerving scene where the concierge is like, okay, let me check. And without breaking eye contact or looking down at all, you just hear him kind of clicking away at the keys.
Just staring right into it.
We do get a close-up of Michael's face, and he kind of like winces his eyes a little bit, like this is kind of creepy. And the guy goes, oh yeah, we have an executive junior suite on the 10th floor, far above the street level, should be quiet, it's smoking, whatever. And he's like, okay, cool, perfect, I'll take it. And we then get this, bellboy, or is that what they're called? Bellhop? There you go.
Bellboy.
Bellboy, bellhop, I don't know. He seems very eager to, please Michael. He's doing small talk. He's like, oh, it's very nice to meet you.
I'll take your bag.
It's clear that Michael is there to present something or might be sort of a big deal. Right. To me, it seems crazy that anyone would think that he's actually a big deal with what his specific job is.
Right.
And this, again, can go back to Michael being delusional, not necessarily just about maybe having the Frigoli delusion, but about, his self-importance. Yeah. He puts himself on this higher pedestal than he really should be, because again, it's customer service. You're selling out an entire auditorium for that shit. Yeah, right. Or you think some random bellhop's gonna be like, oh my god, you're such a big deal.
No. They're looking for those tips.
So the bellhop, similar to the taxi driver, is asking him questions. We have this little thing with a couple of these people when Michael's kind of short with them, giving them yes or no responses, basically, that people constantly re-ask him the question, and he's just getting more aggravated as it goes. He gets brought to his room 1007, and I don't think there's anything important about that, but I just made a note to remember it because whatever.
Okay.
The bellhop is in the room. He's like, okay, this is your room. You got, amenities in the little bar. You got this, you got that.
He's just overselling it.
Would you want me to go get you ice before I leave? What do you want? And Michael's like, okay, God, here's your tip. Just leave.
No.
Some people look into that a lot more than I think maybe you should. I do think it's just assuming that all these characters are actual different people, that it's just an overzealous bellhop trying to get extra tip, not necessarily somebody who's like in love with Michael or whatever.
Yeah. I worked at the front desk of a hotel for a little bit when I was a teenager. And yeah, the bellhops and the shuttle drivers, they lay it on thick.
Yeah.
Because some of those people are, if they look like they've got money, then of course you're going to go well out of your way.
Yeah. So after getting settled in his room, Michael decides to order some room service.
Mm-hmm.
He picks up the phone. He goes to order the food on this phone. And also, again, the timeline for this movie is like 2005 or something.
Right.
Like, it's definitely, it's before, like, actual cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody has a cell phone or anything like that.
No apps.
And so he's looking at the phone, and the phone has, like, 6 different buttons that all seem to indicate food of some sort.
That's pretty funny.
So he picks just one of them, and he orders some food, some room service.
Which, again, very you, the way he ordered his food. They kept trying to ask him questions, and he's just being really straight to the point.
Yep. He even hangs up on them before they finish talking.
Yeah. I mean...
Which is something I would do.
Would do?
Yeah.
Do.
Okay, yeah, sure, I guess.
I've heard you hang up the phone without saying goodbye.
Yeah, well, why?
Oh, okay.
It's awkward.
Click.
Alright, we're done. See ya. I guess that is true. I don't say goodbye to anybody.
You don't really. Barely even say bye to me.
Anyway, he takes his time to call home. He talks to his wife. He very clearly is just trying to basically tell his wife that he's landed. She kind of asks him about the room. He's like, I don't know, it's a hotel room. It looks nice, I guess.
Again, something you would say.
Exactly what I would say. If I went to a hotel and you asked me, how's the room? It's a hotel room. Like, what do you want?
I want to know the deets.
What do you...
Is there a little fridge? Is there free soaps? Little tiny shampoos?
That's ridiculous.
That's absolutely a conversation that we would have.
Yeah. So he also seems sort of frustrated and talking to his wife on the phone. Mm-hmm. At one point, Henry, his son, is heard in the background, and the wife's like, "Oh, Henry, it's your dad. You want to talk?" And he's like, "No, I want to no." And then the son gets on the phone anyway, and he's just like, Hey, Slugger, how are you doing? Hey.
Which you know exactly how that feels if your parent was anything like my mom. She'd have a friend on the phone or one of my aunts or something. She'd be like, "Hey, Maggie, come say hi." No, I don't want to talk on the phone. Here you go. Yeah. And hands it to you anyway.
And eventually his wife gets back on the phone and is like, "Okay, well, you'll have a nice big bed to thrash around in." And he kind of snaps at her and just says, "It's not thrashing. I'm just restless. I just want to get some sleep, some rest." Which I think...
He's had a long day.
Yes. One, I do think, again, because as far as the way the character reacts to other people and small talk and just, like, strangers and just, like, wanting to get the interactions over with, I get it. That shit drains me, too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to do extended things after the fact, whatever. But
Also, too, even if you're only going to the airport and getting on like an hour and a half long flight, that entire process is exhausting. Let alone a 4-hour, 8-hour flight.
Yeah.
That's just tiring. Takes that out of you.
Right.
I don't know why that sounded so Canadian.
I think
it takes it out of you.
I think his restlessness is sort of a symptom of, again, his mental issues. And especially since not only is he just aggravated and frustrated with like the small talk and the small dumb nuances of conversation with people or whatever,
being touched by a
but
stranger.
everybody sounds and looks the exact same,
right.
And that would probably take a toll on you.
Yeah.
You'd probably feel like you were in a nightmare if something like that was happening. So it makes sense.
It would depend on the voice.
If everybody sounded like Chris Pratt, you wouldn't get tired of that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. He gets off the phone with his wife, he starts to take a smoke, and he walks over to the window and opens up this curtain, and he's looking out at the city skyline of Cincinnati, and he happens to catch that there's a person in, like, an office building on a computer, and that person is definitely not working. Well, not doing a job, but they're working on themselves because he catches this dude just masturbating. Very awkward.
Very, very gross. No one needs to accidentally see a stranger diddling themselves.
So he kind of closes the blinds. And then he pulls out some paper and he starts to rehearse this speech of his. And it's a speech about customer service. And he's just sort of reciting some of the lines over and over to himself. And in getting sort of frustrated with it, he goes and he opens up the mini fridge, gets like a vodka or something out of it, and makes a drink. So as he's getting this drink, we start to hear a voice again, and it's again the voice from that letter that he was reading at the beginning, and it's kind of going over more of what's in the letter itself.
Right.
So in his sort of thinking back on this note and starting to kind of drink and maybe his frustration with the day, he pulls out a phone book, the yellow pages, flips through them to find her number, finds it, calls her. She again sounds like everybody else, so he doesn't quite realize it's her when she answers the phone.
Right.
But he reintroduces himself to her as like, "Oh, it's Michael. Hey, I'm in town, and I was just wondering how you were and stuff." And she's like, "Jesus Christ, Michael, it's been years.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck do you want with
like,
me?"
why is this out of the blue?
Would you answer a phone call like that?
No. Absolutely not. Also, just unless it's an emergency, just don't call me in general.
Yeah.
You don't need to hear my voice. You know what's worse than people that just call? People that just willy-nilly FaceTime you. What are you doing?
Only old people do that.
I guess. I need notice.
You willy-nilly FaceTime me.
Oh, well, that's if I need you to see something.
So, the woman he call's name is Bella. He called her in hopes of maybe like rekindling something or recapturing whatever they seem to have had previously. And when he first kind of talks to her, he kind of sounds relieved, but she still sounds just like everybody else.
Right.
He basically invites her out to have a drink, meet at the bar, nothing else, just meet, have a drink, catch up, that sort of thing. And though it's very awkward, she does eventually agree, like, sure, we can meet and maybe have a drink or something, but that's it. He does admit that there's something wrong with him and says that everything's boring. And Bella's like, okay, fine, I'll come. Just fucking relax, dude.
Calm down over there.
He at this point turns on the TV once she's kind of agreed and they're off the phone. He turns on the TV and sees a movie. It's an old black and white movie. I looked it up. They're recreating a scene from the movie My Man Godfrey from 1936. Again, everybody in it looks and sounds
like
exactly the same. So it's not like a famous actor or something. It doesn't matter. Everyone is the same in his mind.
Right.
He then goes and meets Bella at the bar. He's kind of excited about it, seemingly. But she still looks and sounds exactly like everybody else.
Right.
So he's trying to have small talk with her, which is a little bit different from how he's acted with other people, where he was non-receptive to the small talk. Now he's trying to make conversation, sort of break the ice with her.
It's so uncomfortable on one hand, but endearing on the other. Like it's at some point it's a little cringy, and then you're like, "Aw, he's trying."
Yeah. They order some drinks, a very specific drink. They get like a Belvedere something with a twist, straight up with a twist or something like that. They cheers to old times, like you do, I guess.
Such as you do.
And she says she misses him, and then asks him to explain what's going on. And this part is very telling about his state of mind and current being. And is also like weirdly open for what we know about him as a character currently. But he says to her, I think I have psychological problems. And says he's been running for a long time, and that when they were together they had a good time, but then something suddenly changed. He doesn't know what it was, but something just changed. He asks Bella if she feels like she changed at all during their time together, then asks her to come up to his room, and she just goes, "I'm not gonna fuck you, Michael."
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing that.
Straight to the point. Which he was not expecting her to say.
He admits to being lonely and thought maybe they could rekindle things. And she's just like, "No, fuck you. I'm leaving." And she storms off.
Yeah. "I don't care about your problems. You can't just call me up willy-nilly out of the blue. Say you have some switch that turned on or off in you, and then invite me, up to your room."
I mean, that happens sometimes, though.
Does it?
I don't know. Weirdly enough, I told her this, and I won't get in crazy details or anything about it, but I've had a similar conversation with somebody before.
Right.
Where after an extended period of time, I spoke with an ex, and it wasn't on like bad terms or anything. We're good. We're friends. Like nothing horrible or whatever. But there was like the weird conversation of like what happened after the breakup sort of thing, and it's awkward, and it's like, well, sorry. I don't like, what can you can't really make or fix anything. I
think you just have to also realize that sometimes people just change, and maybe they didn't handle it the best way, but it happens, I guess.
Yeah. From here we see Michael walking down the street. It's very clear he's drank quite a bit, although we've maybe seen him have 3 drinks at this point. He had the mixed drink he made in the room. He already had a drink by the time Bella showed up, then he ordered a second one. But he's kind of stumbling down the sidewalk, and we get the final part of Bella's note at this point, where she's just, it's the last section of it where she's just like, "All right, goodbye, Michael.
Yeah. Whatever.
Fuck you."
Toodaloo.
And then he's walking along, and we see that he has arrived at Dino's Toys.
Yep.
And he kind of looks in the window, whatever, walks in. Weirdly, I've heard some people be like, he looks in the window and doesn't realize it's a sex shop. Like, I don't see I can't really make anything out in that window that would explicitly tell a drunk person that this is a sex shop and not a like a Toys R Us or
a
whatever.
children's store.
Do Toys R Us still exist? I don't
No,
know.
like a Build-A-Bear or something.
Yeah. So he goes in. He stumbles to the counter. We do see at this point definitely that it is a sex shop because there's dildos and stuff sitting on the counters and whatever.
All kinds of things.
And he drunkenly tells the guy at the counter that he's looking for a toy for his son. And then he knocks something over and he looks down and he goes, oh, he realizes the kind of store he's in, that it's not, you're probably not going to find something for your son there. But then he looks up and he notices behind the cashier this antique, I guess is what you would call it. And he asks, like, well, what is that? And it's a Japanese antique, and it's this, like a bust of like a geisha, basically, that is split right down the middle. The chest is split right down the middle, where one side is, I guess, has skin or something. It's got an exposed breast on it or whatever, and like an arm that looks like it's got, you know, skin and stuff on it, but very clearly kind of like robotic, like the joints and stuff, so that it can move. But the other one is like an exposed exoskeleton where you see gears and things. And then you have its head, which is a normal looking face for the most part, but above the right eye, I believe, is a crack. It's got a crack right above its like right eye. And he's just like staring at it. He says that it's pretty. He's like, just, it looks different and unique. Whatever.
It's like, it's definitely, it's a maybe sexier, romancier version of the thing that most high school biology labs have, which is the half skeleton and the half like human plastic part of it.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Back at his hotel room, he's taking a shower. He has a Maggie moment where the water is too cold, too hot, too cold, too hot. Can't find a middle ground temperature.
I love this new place, but the shower is possessed by the devil. Don't even touch the handle, and it goes from freezing to boiling to freezing to boiling. Like, that's
what she says.
Like, it's like doing the hokey pokey in there. Like, you gotta like jump away from it and then jump back in. Get a little of my hair wet.
I don't agree with that, but
it's possessed.
You also think like medium temperature, like hardly warm water is hot.
I'm sorry. When I open the bathroom door to walk out of a shower, it shouldn't look like I'm Taylor Swift at a concert and there's just like plumes of like smoke coming out of the door. I like my skin the way it is.
I like to boil.
I don't like
I've told you.
I don't like to boil my skin.
I told you I gotta boil for my sins. The flying spaghetti monster, anyway.
There you go.
Any Pastafarians out there?
Also, if you're able to leave a comment at all, anywhere, you should say whether or not scalding showers make any sort of sense. Because they don't.
It's not scalding. I'm not getting 3rd-degree burns or 1st-degree burns.
Looks like it.
I'm not. Anyway, so Michael gets out of the shower. We do get full frontal male puppet nudity.
Do you like my note?
Oh yeah, she wrote a note that says Winky on it.
That's all it says?
We get a scene here, which is for the Blu-ray version of the movie that we own. This is the scene. He goes up to the mirror, which is fogged from all the steam, and he wipes it away, and it's just his face. He's looking back at his reflection. And while he's doing this, the way the puppets' faces are in this, if you haven't watched this movie, is they're bisected.
Right.
So everything below the eyes is a segment.
Right.
Where it's just the mouth. So the lips and stuff, basically for the people who are controlling the stop motion, can rearrange these mouthpieces, and you've got tons of them, and they're kind of interchangeable. You can put them all over the place, whatever.
Right.
And then you have from the eyes up, so like the eyebrow, forehead, and stuff. So you got 2 different pieces for the face that can do different things. And in this point, when he's looking in the mirror, his bottom part of his face, with his lips and stuff, starts to just like glitch and do all these weird things and movements and stuff. And he grabs his jaw to kind of hold it in place. And then as he's looking in the mirror, getting really close, he starts to undo part of his face. Right. Just a little bit. There's a little space, a little crack that you can see that he's pulling at. But just as he's doing that, he hears a voice in the hallway. Mm-hmm. And it's not Tom Noonan who voices everybody else, but it's a different voice. There's somebody else that he's hearing.
Yeah.
And he basically snaps out of it. Like, this scene is clear that Michael's basically... his sanity's on the edge of breaking at this point.
Absolutely. And he's freaking out. But that scene of him wiping the mirror of... wiping the mirror down and the cover of the DVD is such a cool... I'm so glad that they chose that to put on the DVD, because it is really, really cool looking.
Blu-ray, but, semantics.
All right. Pack it in.
He hurries up and gets dressed. He kind of just throws on pants, throws on a shirt real quick, and rushes out into the hallway. And he just starts banging on every single door, going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking for my friend." And people are like, "Oh, well, not here, sorry." Until he gets to a room, and he bangs on the door, and this woman answers, and he gives her the same thing. "Oh, sorry, I was just looking for my friend. I guess I hit the wrong thing." But this woman knows who he is. Mm-hmm. And just as he's about to leave, he hears another voice in the room, asks, who is that? And he realizes that the voice he was looking for is there.
Right.
And both of the women introduce themselves to him. It's Emily and Lisa. Mm-hmm. And they are both actually there for the conference that he's doing.
Right.
Both of them are managers in call rooms. Call centers. And they both have read his book and tell him that because they've read their book, productivity is up like 95%.
But they're just gushing. They are fangirling.
Yeah.
Over what anybody else would see to be very lame. They're just like, "Oh my god, it's like we're meeting a legend."
Yeah, and he's instantly sort of enamored with Lisa. Mm-hmm. She looks different from everybody else. She has a different, unique voice. He says that she looks lovely at this point. And then both of them, he also tells her that she happens to have a miraculous voice.
Yes.
Crazy thing to say when you just meet somebody, if I say so myself. And then he offers both of them to, like, go get a drink.
Right.
So he's back to the bar. Same night, same bar, same waiter probably. 3 different women.
Yep.
And this time, 2 of them at once.
Could you imagine if you were like the bartender there and it's a convention for some like super nerdy thing or whatever, and you meet like I don't know, what's a good example? You meet like the Brad Pitt of the nerdy convention.
The Brad Pitt of the nerdy convention? Uh-huh.
And everyone's just like, "Oh." And I think it's also good to note that there's Lisa and Emily. I feel like Emily's laying it on thick. Like, she is really telling him how great he is.
Yes. No, she definitely is. I did make notes of that.
Yeah.
He is so focused on Lisa because she looks different, sounds different from everybody else, that even while they're drinking and kind of chatting, he is replying to Emily, but it's the normal Michael we know where he's kind of like curt. Short answers, to the point, whatever. But anything Lisa's saying, dumb jokes, dumb little stupid things, he's laughing about, he's smiling.
He's got his blinders on for sure.
She sings at one point, not particularly well, but she sings for a moment, and he's just like, you sound great, this is awesome, fantastic. They get their drinks. He orders the same drink again. They order some other fancy drink that has to do with like cinnamon or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what that was.
they all have a good time, and they leave the bar. We see them in an elevator riding together, and like you said, Emily is hanging all over him. She's literally got her arms wrapped around Michael's arm, but he's basically ignoring her existence.
Oh, yeah.
Because Lisa's still laughing and being giggly and saying like silly things, and he's laughing and giggling at her, but basically ignoring Lisa.
Yeah.
They get off the elevator. They kind of go their separate ways for their rooms. And in this moment, Michael stops and asks Lisa if she would like a nightcap. Come back to his room.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm sorry, I don't want to make this awkward, Emily, but I just Lisa.
Just Lisa.
And Lisa's like, are you sure you don't mean Emily? And Lisa's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Emily, he's gorgeous. Go with him. It's fine. I'll be fine.
You could see for a split second there's a little bit of like ouch, like burn. Like, oh, okay, well, you're shooting me down in front of my friend, but my friend is very reserved, and go for it. I'm a supportive friend.
Lisa does trip here. She just falls over her own legs because she's nervous, I guess.
Clumsy. I've done that before.
I feel like if some random guy asks you back to his hotel room, I feel like I've heard about that in like a murder documentary before.
But at least for sure. But at least the friend knew where she was going.
Did she?
I think. She just wanted her friend to get laid.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how you end up dying.
Yes, it is. But Lisa's character she's so cute and relatable in so many ways, because she agrees that, they're big fans of his, but she is not, she's not trying to be a groupie about it. She's just like, oh yeah, I really liked your book, or whatever. And she's just constantly saying that, she's not pretty enough. Are you, like you said, are you sure you don't want her to go back to your room for a nightcap? Why me? She's very self-conscious, and I don't know. She's very, very cute in her mannerisms, and you can tell that she's not used to being picked out of the two of them.
Yeah. And in this situation, it's very clear, like, what exactly the insinuation is of him asking, like, hey, you want to go back to my room for a nightcap?
Yeah.
Because they walk awkwardly in silence to his room.
Yeah. And
then when they get in there, Lisa is still, like, shy, and, like, everybody usually likes Emily more. She's more popular. Are you sure you don't want her? And Michael says he feels something special about Lisa.
Yeah.
And she's kind of, bashful about it and everything. And at this point, we see that the way she wears her hair, which some of her hair is in front of her right eye, is she kind of brushes it to the side for a moment, and we see that Lisa has a scar right above her right eye.
Yeah.
Which, if you remember, the Japanese doll thing also had a crack right above its right eye. We'll get a little bit more into some things people think later on, but that's a big one to remember.
Quick, which eye do I have a scar over?
That one.
Oh, good job.
Oh, wow.
I too have a scar over my eye.
Yeah. She's also just sitting here kind of talking, and she does tell Michael that she doesn't like to talk about what happened, why she got the scar. Mm-hmm. He then weirdly transitions that to saying, can I kiss it? Mm-hmm. For which she asks him if he is some sort of pervert.
Yeah. What the hell is wrong with you?
I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
Because that is a very weird way to
get close.
Talk to anybody. Hey, what happened? How'd you get that scar? I don't want to talk about it. Okay, can I tongue it?
Can I touch it? Ew.
That's fucking weird.
That is fucking weird. Immediate red flag for me.
Of course, the thing is supposed to be to him, everybody's the same person. So there's finally somebody who's different, and like her the things that make her unique, like the scar, are
It's refreshing.
important to him in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
Still fucking weird, though.
Very weird. Don't do that. If you're thinking about it, don't do it.
Michael does tell her that he thinks that she's extraordinary, that her voice is like magic. She doesn't realize what he kind of deals with or goes through, that everybody to him is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just like very weirdly over the top, like niceties.
Yeah.
To her, and she's like, "Oh, you're so nice. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's not true. Whatever." He asks her to sing, so she does, and she sings "Girls Just Want to Have Fun."
Yeah. Super cute.
And unlike when she was singing in the bar, this isn't bad. Like in the bar, she's kind of pitchy, kind of all over the place, not great. But here she kind of like closes her eyes, sort of takes a deep breath, sort of sings, and it sounds good.
Yeah.
Now, we could take this a couple different ways. There is a point in this movie, and it's basically when they get off the elevator, where some people will argue that, like, before all this, Michael's already basically fully snapped, and this part where he goes into the room is not actually happening.
It's just
and
his
part
perception.
of the explanation is because we heard her sing before and she wasn't good, but now she sings really well.
That's very interesting.
As well, there's a moment after she's done singing where she mentions that she likes different languages, and she says like French and Spanish and all the Italian. She sings part of Girls Just Want to Have Fun in a different language. But at one point she very specifically says Japanese, obviously.
Right.
And the connection that some people like to make is they saying, that's not Lisa in the room. That's the Japanese doll that he bought in the room. Because we do learn later on that that Japanese doll is not just like a bust like that sits there, but it actually sings. And it does have a good singing voice. I'm not 100% certain, but I think the singing voice for the doll is not Tom Noonan. I don't know that it's Jennifer Jason Leigh, but to me it kind of sounds similar to her. It's obviously singing in Japanese. She might not know Japanese, so it could just be a random Japanese voice. But some people take it that way, that at some point in time none of this is actually happening, and it's all a delusion in Michael's head that he's in this room with Lisa, but really it's the Japanese doll.
That's trippy. I definitely didn't catch on to any of this stuff the first time I watched this.
So they get close. He does kiss her. She does ask for him to do it again, so it's not like unconsensual.
Right.
In case you're worried about that. They lay down on the bed, and she does at some point mention like it's been years since she's been intimate with anyone, and he's like, that's fine, you just keep talking, I love hearing your voice, just keep talking. And while she's talking about these random things like liking different languages and these random like facts of in Brazil they speak Portuguese, but Brazil, this is such a random thing, Brazil is the only country in South America where they sing in Portuguese. Just a random thing that she brings up. She calls it an anomaly. This whole time Michael's literally like making out with her cheek.
Yeah.
And she calls it an anomaly. She says that she never really knew what that word meant until she always thought that she was an anomaly and thought that that was something bad, so she felt bad about it for feeling different. But when she actually looked it up, she felt better because she realized that it means that it's like something special. Like it's unique, it's different, something special. So that made her feel better about herself. And then Michael says, you're Anomalisa.
Yeah.
Roll credits, there's the title.
Hence the title, Anomalisa. It's such a cute little moment. And this when they're laying together, it absolutely reminds me of that scene from Lost in Translation when Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson's character, like they're not kissing or anything in the scene, but they're just laying next to each other, just like listening to each other talk as they stare up at the ceiling, and it's just enjoying each other's company.
They go back to kissing at this point, and they start to get undressed. They get fully undressed. We do see some puppet boobies.
Yes, we do.
And Michael starts to go down on her, and she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of nervous. And he's like, but I want to do it. And she's like, okay. There's some puppet cunnilingus going on in here. And then some eerily realistic sex between these puppets.
It's very uncomfortable.
You don't really see anything. It's like we're sort of at the window, like looking in, so it's from the side. There's nothing crazy. It's just like it's like a tasteful, real depiction of what it would look like just done with puppets. It's like weirdly human, I guess is how I'd say it.
If sex scenes make you uncomfortable and puppets make you uncomfortable, like me, it's a fun scene.
After they finish, they roll over. We get full frontal female puppet nudity.
Yep.
Which is it was your facial expression. I don't think I might have forgot that happened in the movie, but I just didn't remember it. So when it happened, I didn't think anything of it. I'm just still like whatever watching the movie. You just make this face, and I was like, what? And you're like, I wasn't expecting puppet vagine.
I wasn't expecting that.
At this point, Michael has some post-nut clarity.
I do not care for that term. I do not care for that
it's
at all.
It's true. Shout out to everybody out there who's experienced it. You know what I'm talking about.
All right.
Just after you get the clear-mindedness of things. He tells her, "I don't want to lose you. Mm-hmm. I lose everyone."
Yeah.
She takes this obviously as like a sad but sweet sort of thing,
mm-hmm.
when what he means is like, I'm broken,
mm-hmm.
and everyone, even people who I've had something with before, such as assumedly his wife and Bella, who we've met along the way, they just become like everyone else.
Right.
So it is quite sad.
It is
hearing
very sad.
Post-nut clarity.
All right. That'll do.
Oh, God. We then cut to a telephone ringing. It's morning time. We did see, like, outside, there's, like, a shift from night to day going on with a billboard. This is another thing people will point out to where, like, that night that happened was not real, because on the billboard is a advertisement for the Cincinnati Zoo, mm-hmm. and on it is a speech bubble that says, "It's zoo-sized," which is a callback to the thing the taxi driver said. So you can take that as, like, again, that this night did not actually happen, and that it's some sort of delusional fever dream sort of thing of Michael's. But also at the same time, this scene we're about to get, I think this is your first indication that something is not right.
Right.
Because he gets a phone call, he wakes up, it is the hotel manager who would like to speak with him in his office, and Michael's like, alright, fine, gets up and goes down there. Lisa stays in bed. He gets down there, and he's walking down this, like, dark corridor, mm-hmm. Sort of spooky looking already. He goes into, like, a receptionist's office, but in there is, like, 4 or 5 rows of 3 desks each. There's like 15 or so desks in there with all these women sitting behind them. Again, everybody looks and sounds the exact same. Mm-hmm. He just says, hey, I'm here to talk to the manager for some reason. The receptionist is like, oh my god, I read your book.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so great. You can go right in and talk to him. So he's like, okay, cool. He walks into the room, and it's this big, just empty, concrete room where way at the end is the manager who's like, hey, I'm over here. Just take the golf cart over here. So this room is big enough that you have to you take a golf cart from one end.
It's like a parking garage.
It doesn't seem like too huge that you would actually need to do that. You could probably walk over there just as fast as it would take you to actually drive over there. But there's also this, in the middle, this sunken meeting lounge thing. And it's just this hole in the middle of this room that you have to go around in the cart anyway. That's just like a circle of couches, or a rectangle of couches, basically. It's just like, what is that? What is the point of that? It's weird. I don't get it. It's strange. But he gets over to the manager, and he's kind of like, what do you want? Get to the point. He's very visually annoyed for being woke up and being called down there. And the manager is just kind of beating around the bush. He's doing the same thing other people have done. I read your book.
Small talk.
After I read your book, productivity is up 95%. We've heard that before. So again, this is another little hint that something is not quite right here.
Off.
And the manager gets up. He points out that he's got this giant fish tank of saltwater fish, which is hard to maintain. Just showing off. I don't know if that's supposed to directly represent something. I'm not 100. I don't know exactly what that might be, but it could. Who the fuck knows? It's weird. The manager gets up, walks over to a treadmill, starts walking on a treadmill, and he goes, "All right, Michael, I love you, and I want to be with you. You can be with. We're all here for you, and we want you to love us, but you can have any of us, just not Lisa." Yeah. And he's like, "What the fuck?
What is happening?"
So he goes to rush away, and he gets in the golf cart again, crashes it into the sunken place, just gets up and runs, and the manager's like, you can have anyone, just not Lisa.
Yeah.
He gets out into the secretary room, and everybody instantly stares at him.
It is so disorienting and crazy.
Yep.
Very trippy.
And they're all just like, you can have me, Michael. You can have me, Michael. One of them goes, you can fuck me, Michael. Just not Lisa.
Yeah.
And he just is like, Lisa, and gets up and jumps over the tables, escapes. He goes up the elevator. As he's running out the elevator, if you've watched our streams before, we used to have an old opening that included this scene in it. Yeah. But as he leaves the elevator, his jaw falls off of his face. Yeah. And we see, it's not like bones or anything. It's just the actual puppet face, the mannequin, or whatever you'd call this, his face, where it's just like this gray block where you'd stick the thing on to hold in place.
Right.
And he looks down at it, his eyes are wide, he picks it up, the mouth is moving all over the place, and he latches it back onto his face. And he runs down the hall,
freaking out,
bangs on the door to Lisa's room. Emily's there, no, she doesn't want to come. Lisa's there. He grabs Lisa, runs her back down the hall, and gets her. As they're running down the hall, the hallway is turning pitch black. Yeah. All the lights go out. They get into the room, and he tells her she's not safe. That they don't want them to be together. Tells her that the manager explained that everyone is a singular person and that they're the only two people in the world. And Lisa is finding all of this extremely romantic.
Oh, yeah. She's
not realizing that this guy is absolutely off his fucking rocker.
Yeah.
He just told you that everybody is the exact same, that they don't want him and Lisa to be together, and they're the only actual people in the world. And she went, that's sweet.
That's so sweet. I wish that guy would say that about me.
He even tells her that his wife, she's like, well, what about your wife and son? And he's like, they don't matter. They're not real. The only thing that's real is us.
Totally lost his marbles.
But this is when it's revealed that, surprise, it was all a dream. So I think, look, depending on where you land on the Japanese doll Lisa thing of the night before, I think the indication when we see outside the window and we see the billboard saying Cincinnati Zoo, it's zoo sized, is the first indication that everything following this is a dream, right, up until the point of like he wakes up that he was having a nightmare. There's obviously also the things about like, I read your book, productivity is up 95%, which he was told earlier.
So many coincidences.
So many like weird things that make it clear that it is a dream, and then like crazy psychotic shit happening with the lights going off and all that. So Lisa tells him that he was thrashing around, and that this part I find funny. Obviously his wife also told him that he thrashes at night, so it seems that he has nightmares like this relatively often. And she says, she goes, "You were thrashing around and you elbowed me." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she goes, "That's okay. I kind of liked it." I'm sorry, what? You like being elbowed in the face?
I'm sorry, come again?
She likes it a little rough, apparently.
I guess.
So they get up, and they're having breakfast. Michael is telling her that he wants to be with her. He's going to leave his wife. Says it's something that he has to do. And Lisa she's kind of overwhelmed at first, but she's just like, you know what? Fine, let's do it.
Yeah.
As this is going on, they're having like some scrambled eggs, some like generic breakfasty stuff. Michael says, "Can you not do that?"
Yeah.
Because she like scrapes her fork or her cutlery on like the plate or something. She like dings it, and he's like, "Could you not do that?" Clearly a trigger for him. Similarly, we've mentioned it before, Michael and I are kind of akin.
Well, something else.
Two minds of the same. What is the saying? Doesn't matter.
You're the same.
I share the same opinion on this. I've told this story before that the worst that it has ever been for me. There's a thing known as like mesophilium.
No, that's not it.
You're thinking of like the old like mesothelioma commercial thing. It basically it's the hatred of sound, and it's not something that is often very diagnosed, but the symptoms of it are certain sounds trigger the feeling of like rage and hatred in a person, and that is how I feel about a couple of sounds. One of those sounds is when you take like silverware, a fork, a spoon, knife, doesn't matter what it is, and it scrapes against a plate.
Right.
If you're cutting something, if you stab something with a fork and then it like
scrapes,
like rubs the plate,
ugh,
that sound just fills me with anger.
With absolute
There's
rage.
no way to describe it other than it just triggers like an anger in me. That for the most part I can generally just kind of like breathe and get away from it. But the worst case of where that ever happened was I must have been a teenager at some point, and it was like the family was sitting down to eat something. I think I was already just having a bad day to begin with, but we sat down. I don't know what it was we were eating, but my brother, mother, stepdad are all just cutting into whatever, scraping their plates, and the sound is driving me crazy. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I just let out something saying just like, "Shut up," or whatever, and just left the table. I could not deal with the sound.
I can picture it.
At all. I was just so angry from hearing the sound. So that's the first thing that Michael does, is he asks her not to do that. She's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry."
Wait, what's your other two?
I'm getting there.
Oh.
Hang on. So they're still talking, and they're kind of going over this, and she starts to talk with her mouth full.
Right.
And he goes, "Can you not talk with your mouth full?"
Yeah.
He's getting a little bit more assertive about it. And that's another thing that gets me. When people are eating and, like, smacking their gums with their mouth open. Same thing. That sound,
makes you want to throw a chair out a window.
If I was Bruce Banner, I would turn into Hulk anytime somebody just chewed next to me. I'd just be like, that's the secret, Captain. Just chew something next to me. Just put me next to Thanos and let him chew, and I'm gonna rage out and murder him.
I don't think that I mind too much about open mouth chewing because my dad has done it before. I've always very inherently been I chew with my mouth closed person. But I will say this. People that chew with their mouth open, ick. Animals that chew, and like those little TikToks of pandas chomping on bamboo, I could listen to that all day. All day, every day.
All day, son. All day.
You have to admit, I feel like I've asked you that before, like you're not bothered by animals chomping, right? Or does it still scratch?
No, I think it's just
people.
I would assume it's got to be the underlining understanding of animals are not as aware as humans are, and some people just do it and don't care. They got to shovel so much shit in their mouth that they physically can't actually close their mouth, and it oh man, it just...
And
just know, if you know me personally and we're ever going somewhere and you eat like that, if you ask me a question and I give you a snappy response, it's because you eating like that has filled me with anger. It's just that sound. Like, you could put on headphones, and if you just played that sound, like, that would be probably the equivalent of, like, waterboarding to me. I would give up state secrets in order to not hear that anymore.
And you've been forced to be next to people in the past that eat with their mouth open. Anyway,
so yeah, I hate those things. So I probably have that hatred of sound thing.
What's the third thing?
What is the third thing?
I don't know. I don't think that this counts, but the sound of people walking in snow gives me the heebie-jeebies.
The crunching?
I don't know what it is about that sound. It, like, makes me think of velvet and, like, chalkboard nails. I don't know.
Anyway, back to the movie. During this, we also get... Lisa says something that, like, you can't just leave Henry like that. You have to do something. You gotta make sure he knows that it's not his fault or whatever. And Michael goes... You're being kind of controlling. That's the third thing. Now, I'm not like that. I'm not going to tell somebody, like, you're fucking psycho. You're being controlling. That's not a me thing. But the other two things, yes. When he does this, during this interaction, there's a shot that I really like, which is we're behind Michael's shoulders. Like, we're right behind his shoulder, and the window behind Lisa is open, and the sun is sort of shining through. So her face is basically obscured because of the bright sun coming in from behind it.
Right.
The brilliance to this is, as Michael's getting more frustrated about the small things she's doing, we start to hear her voice overlap with the voice we hear everybody else have.
Yeah.
So she's slowly starting to turn like everyone else in Michael's mind, and he's trying to tell her, no, it'll be okay, we'll do this, it'll be great, to try and, like, save it as it's actively happening.
It's like he's trying to talk himself into salvaging this.
Right.
But the train's already starting to leave the station.
And she was just like, oh my god, this is so exciting, we can go do stuff, we can go to the zoo, bringing up the zoo again. And during all this stuff, these are issues that are very clearly things that annoy him about people in general. The small talk, the shit about the zoo he's heard about all night long over the last night he's been here. The clang, the scraping of the plates, the chewing with your mouth or talking with your mouth full, the controllingness. She's turning into everyone else.
Yeah. So it's definitely, if you're not familiar with the term, like, I feel like people say it really often now thanks to TikTok, but, like, those are his icks. Like, they give him the ick, they stand out, and they just rub him the wrong way. And like I said, the train leaving the station, now it's starting to build more.
And she realizes that something is wrong because he's acting a little bit differently.
Yeah, something's different.
And it's him, again, sort of trying to fight and hold on to what he heard in her the night before.
Mm-hmm.
But he ends up losing. And her voice fully changes to sound like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And her face, once it's revealed out of the obscurity of the light, now looks just like everyone else.
So.
We now cut to him giving the speech. Again,
The lecture at the...
this could be, you might take this as some sort of like him thinking more highly of himself than other people. But so as Michael's giving this speech, we see out in the crowd Lisa and Emily kind of sitting sort of central focus with him, and just a bunch of random other people of no importance. It's a sea of the same face.
Right.
Michael's giving this speech, and he is losing his mind while giving this.
Snapping. Off the deep end.
His speech is also ironic in the sense that he is giving a speech about customer service and treating the customer with dignity, respect, as an individual.
Right.
And in his speech, he mentions that you have to remember that everybody on the other end of that phone is an individual.
Mm-hmm.
They've all had their days,
Yep.
good days, bad days, you don't know, but everybody is unique and different. But to him, they're not.
Right.
Everybody is the same. So it's kind of hilarious that his job or his career is teaching this when he himself doesn't see that.
Yeah, feels the exact opposite. Which, by the way, if you have not ever worked in customer service, you need to keep that in mind. Some people are having a day, you don't know what everybody's going through, so think about that the next time you snap at your waitress for not bringing the ketchup fast enough.
And during his speech, when he's mentioning everybody has their days, good, bad, whatever, he's you can tell he's breaking under his own sort of delusion or psychological issues, because he says, what is it to be alive? What is it to ache?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And people are just like, what the fuck?
What's happening here? Like, he's unraveling in real time.
Yeah. And then he mentions the bullshitty thing that I suppose is true to some degree, but I find it to be the silliest thing ever, is that he mentions smile when you're on the phone. Because they can tell if you're smiling or not. It gives you a more upbeat personality or something.
If I had a dime for every time a manager or a supervisor said that to me, I'd buy a small island.
Yeah. And then he loses his mind a little bit more, and he says, I lost my love. I have no one to talk to. And at this point, we see Lisa in the crowd, and you can tell by her facial expression that she realizes he's specifically talking to her in this moment. And he then, again, in losing everything that's going on, says, the world is falling apart. He goes into like this random rant, tirade almost, saying the world is falling apart. The president is a war criminal. Distorted the education system because it's making it easier to control soldiers. And he does like a little march on stage. Obviously, if this is 2005, guess who's president then? War criminal George W. Bush. No.
Yeah, he is going off. He is, if that was real, there'd be TikToks about it.
Yeah, he does. He's full on breaking at this point. He does mention at the end that there's something very, very wrong with himself. He says there's something very, very wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And people in the crowd are kind of like booing and like, what the hell is going on with this?
Here?
We cut from there to Michael flying back home. He walks into his house. His wife greets him. His son runs up and gives him a big hug. He tells his son that he got him something, and his son takes it out of the bag, and it is the Japanese doll. And he's like, what is this? And he's like, I don't know. It does things or whatever. And there's then the reveal that there was a surprise party for him, and there's just a ton of people there, which is a nightmare that I have, that I will one day just be somewhere and there will be a surprise.
I wish you...
Something Maggie's done multiple times.
What did my face look like as you said that?
I don't know.
Offended.
Yeah, there you go. You already know that. Look, she's given me surprise, like a birthday surprise thing, twice, and they weren't awful or anything. But the way she goes about it is she comes up with the dumbest, most irritating story ever that just gets me absolutely angry.
Yeah.
Because we're like, okay, we need to go do something. I was like, okay, let's go do it. And then she's like, oh, but we need to like wait here for something. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Let's go do this thing. And she's like, well, we just need to wait.
Nothing like forcing you into a group of your best friends to have a fun time as you're pissed off.
Yeah.
I've done it a couple times. I am very, very bad at keeping, like, I think I did a great job of being able to pull it off. You were very mad.
Yeah.
But at least, like, with this, it was a very, very small group of friends.
Yeah, not the whole house full of people.
Yeah, not a whole house full of people, and not people that I didn't think that you wouldn't like being there.
Yeah.
But there was one time where I arranged for, I can't remember if it was the weekend before or the weekend after, I think it was the weekend after your birthday. I arranged all of our close friends to go to a bowling alley, and that was going to be your surprise party. We were going to like have drinks and food and bowl. And I like even went to the point that like when you were taking a shower, I stole your bowling ball and I put it in the back of the car and I hid it. And my thing was, I think I said something like, my mom needs us to meet her somewhere to give us something. And you were like, okay. But you drove like a little too fast at one point or something. And then I was like, she said that she pulled over at this bowling alley to use the bathroom and we should go in there. Oh, you was mad. And then we went in and everyone went, surprise.
Uh-huh.
And you had a fun time.
The way she tells it, she forgets the part where it was like, we were going somewhere to like get food or something was my plan. And then she's like, we need to stop here. And then we were sitting there for like 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, I just want to go get food. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We can come back. And she's like, well, no,
Not good at it.
Yeah.
Not
Anyway.
good at it. But you had a good time.
Yeah.
You had fun.
Yeah.
That's the point.
So when it's revealed that there's a surprise party, Michael literally says, "Who are these people? I don't know who any of these people are." And she's like, and the wife is just like, "Jesus Christ, Michael! Like, you know these people."
Yeah.
And again, everybody looks the same, sounds the same.
Mm-hmm.
So to him, it could just be anyone. People come up and like, "Hey," and he's like, "Hi." I can't tell who you are.
This is like very poorly timed out. He does not want to be interacting with people right now.
His son at this point goes, "What did the toy just do?" And the wife looks down and goes, "Oh my God, Michael, it looks like semen."
Blech.
And this ties back to the toy theory thing that people have, in that the night that we saw with Michael and Lisa, where it wasn't Lisa, but it was the Japanese toy, is that Michael had sex with that toy. And that is definitely semen coming out of it, and it's his. Yeah. Michael just asks his wife, who, like, in a final sort of moment, just says, like, who are you really?
Yeah.
In the sense of, like, I actually don't know who you are. Who are you? You're all the same person. Who are you? What do you want? And she just goes, Jesus Christ, Michael, like, what do you mean? and she's just kind of like thinks that it's more of an existential sort of question. And he says he's not leaving. He just says, like, where would I go? I have nothing. I literally have nothing. Where would I go? The toy starts to sing at this point. It's singing in Japanese. Again, the voice is different from everything else, so it's unique. And Michael just kind of takes it and sits down on the stairs in his house, just looking at this toy as it's singing. And we cut to seeing Lisa in a car writing a letter to Michael, basically saying that she enjoyed their time together and that she looked up in her Japanese to English dictionary, again going back to the weird connection between the Japanese toy and Lisa, like, why when she went to Cincinnati does she have a Japanese to English language dictionary?
It's curious.
Kind of weird. But she looked up Anomalisa in the dictionary and found that it translates to what does it translate to? It translates to goddess of heaven. That's what it translates to. So while she's writing this note, we do see that she looks over and Emily is driving the car.
Yeah.
And Emily looks different. Emily looks normal in this case. So we're seeing this from Lisa's perspective.
Right.
And Lisa and Emily both look like normal humans. They don't look like everybody else looked to Michael while she was writing this letter to him. So that's where it ends. She's writing this note. She just wanted Michael to know that she had a good time. Anomalisa means goddess of heaven in Japanese. And we do see that everybody is unique people. They're not actually all just a singular person.
Right.
And that's the end of the movie.
That's it.
The big sort of questions there that I've kind of brought up throughout it is, was Lisa real? I think the assumption at the end of the movie is, yes, she is a real person, but how much of her time with Michael
was what we saw.
Was actually what we saw. And it's hard to not say that what we did see was the truth, because she was only called Anomalisa when they spent that night together.
Right.
The stuff with the Japanese toy and the semen thing at the end is a little weird, and there is the connections with the scar and the crack on the doll, and the fact that they both the singing is weird. So you can take it any sort of way that you want. I'm not 100% into the toy was her at some points to Michael, just because I don't think in his delusions where everybody looks the same and sounds the same, I don't think he would just all of a sudden imagine something else is another person.
Right. It seems like there was a very clear trajectory on maybe what his delusions were, and then that just kind of forked off into something that would have forked off into something different.
Yeah.
You know. So I think I agree. I don't think that I buy that.
When I first saw this movie, I took away because I did not know what the Frigoli delusion was. So when everybody had the same face and voice, to me, I took that as because we see Michael so frustrated and annoyed with people throughout, that it was sort of a symptom of him seeing everybody as sort of like an annoyance in his life. That everybody was obviously, yes, he was like depressed and having these issues, but everybody was so simple to him, I guess, is a way to say it, because the small talk annoyed him, and the simple mannerisms that everybody has is what Lisa ended up showing that made her just like everybody else.
That tipped him over the edge.
So, I don't know. I really enjoy this movie, and I do think it is one where because it's intentionally made to let you kind of interpret things however you want to. It's one that you could definitely sit around and talk with people about
For sure.
Get different takes from it all over the place. I think it is kind of silly not to realize that the Frigoli delusion is definitely something that does plague the character of Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the nightmare sequence basically solidifies that, especially when you know what the delusion is, that in his dream, when the manager's like, we want you to love us, not her. It goes into the thing where you think it's a singular person who's just trying to fool you or trick you or deceive you, whatever it might be. But I think the movie's great.
It is. It's definitely great, and it is one of those things that the first time that I watched it, I feel like I appreciated a lot of the elements, but watching it again, it's an onion layers. It's a lot deeper than a lot of things that a lot of those things went over my head the first time I watched it, because I wasn't thinking I was gonna see some like mind-blowing piece of work. Yeah. And I'm sure that there are plenty of people out there that watch this movie that were like, that's probably how it is, with disassociation and
yeah. Some
like
people would. I've heard people speak about it being sexual related, in that there's a lot of stuff in this, like, we don't know what the pills are that he takes at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Some people say maybe it's like a Viagra or something, because he tries to sleep with Bella, he goes to the sex shop and gets this doll, potentially does something with the doll. There's the guy who's masturbating that he sees. He gets it in with Lisa. So there's a lot of like sexual things sort of going on throughout the night.
Which you did not warn me about the first time that I watched.
Why would I spoil that for anyone?
Yeah.
I mean, I've spoiled it for you if you're listening to this and you've never seen the movie, but you thought Team America's puppet sex was something?
Yeah.
This is awkwardly realistic.
This is something. But it is whatever uncomfortableness I felt was very balanced out by the other elements of the movie and the storyline, the roller coaster that was this guy's life. It's definitely not what I was expecting, but I do agree that I think it's a great movie. Was it nominated for any awards or anything?
It was nominated for Best Animated Film.
Didn't win?
No.
What one?
I do not know. I could probably find out.
That's surprising that it didn't win. Because it really is really fluid animation. And like you said, it's the kind of movie that after you watch it, you want to talk.
Inside Out.
Oh. That is very different.
You don't bet against Pixar.
Pixar, no. Yeah. Those are totally opposite ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I know, like you said, it's the kind of movie that when you watch it for the first time, you're gonna think about it for like the next next day or so. It's the kind of movie that you can sit in a group of people and be like, well, what's your opinion on it? Like, how do you think that this went? Or, it's just it's one of those ones that makes you think, and for a motion picture movie to get you to do that is impressive, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about this movie. I like something where, at the end of it, I could have on an initial take one thought, and then I could go listen to somebody's take on it and watch it again and be like, okay, I can see where that goes. Like, the first time I saw it, the whole Frigoli hotel thing meant nothing to me. And then after I looked into the movie after, I was like, oh. And then you can watch it and you kind of have a different take with it. And so
I can also appreciate too where were elements of his character that you could relate to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's always nice.
Yeah, people annoy me. That's what
They
it is.
do. They do be annoying.
So yeah, definitely check this movie out if you haven't watched it in a while. Maybe we brought up a theory or idea or something that on a new watch you'd kind of pay more attention to and be like,
Right.
oh shit, okay, I see where that kind of connection can be. But thank you for listening.
Thank you.
We will be back again next Thursday with Maggie pick of something. Who knows what?
Yeah. It's gonna be great. I don't know what it is yet, but it's gonna be great.
But wherever you're listening, be sure to give us a follow, give this a rating, leave comments, any suggestions or criticism, all that stuff is welcome. But thank you for listening.
Yeah.
You can catch us all over the place at COAS_podcast or Chicken on a Stick on YouTube to listen to the podcast there. If you're already listening to it, welcome.
Leave comments.
Yeah,
opinions.
leave comments, share, all that good stuff. And then you can find us every Friday over on Twitch where we talk about a movie.
Yeah.
Whatever we saw that week.
Whatever we saw.
But thank you again for listening. We'll see you next time. So, goodbye.
Have a great weekend or week or morning or afternoon or evening. Whatever it is to you right now.
Okay, well, goodbye.
Goodbye.